Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Footy Show Daily. We are live here on Patreon, so if you want to comment on anything we talk about, or just comments in general on any of the footy stories going on at the moment, let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you are not watching live and you're watching on YouTube, get over to Patreon. The link is in the description and sign up. Get involved. Football League have decided they're coming back on the 20th of June. Which some people are not very happy about. It seems quite quick considering the amount of time they've had to train, which is not much time at all.
Yeah, there was no real talk about the Championship. It was just kind of in limbo while the Premier League chat was going on, wasn't it? And now they've come to that conclusion that they are to return on the 20th, and people aren't happy about it. Notably, Queen's Park Rangers are really not happy about it. So, Rick Parry said, we're returning when it's safe to do so, and they're moving to contact training in sport and contact in sport and stuff. So they'll be back, but QPR weren't happy about it. They've released a statement today, and says it's Lee, who's chief executive, has released it. They said, I'm absolutely stunned by this announcement, as is our director of football, Les Ferdinand, and our manager, Mark Warburton. Incredibly, there has been absolutely no consultation with individual clubs, nor championship doctors, working groups by divisional representatives, or anyone else in the Football League regarding this matter. On top of that, we were only made aware of this statement 40 minutes before it was made to the public. The players haven't even returned to full contact training at this moment, and yet they're now expected to be in a position to play at a competitive level in just 3 weeks' time. I've made our feelings known to the EFL and spoken with a number of CEOs at other championship clubs. I am not alone voice in this matter. We are absolutely appalled. So strong words from Lee Hughes there, the chief executive at QPR. Unfair seems to come to mind when clubs who will be fighting at both ends of the table given 3 weeks.
I mean, it just seems really poor, though, just from the face off, that the league are not talking to the teams about what's going on, not keeping them updated. I mean, that just seems really, really poor. In terms of what level you've got to be at. It strikes me that they just want it done and dusted as fast as possible to keep their reputation intact. But doing it in a very half-assed way. We had 20 positive tests over the weekend.
What's the 20?
I think it was 20, yeah. So that to me just sounds like, it almost sounds like they're doing it half-assed, like they're trying to follow in the footsteps of the Premier League, but they haven't got the Premier League money or just anything the Premier League
resources and directives and guidance that the Premier League have followed, and I don't think we're in a situation where you can do things rushed like this. And this is something we have said on this show for probably the last 3 weeks about it, because we kept coming back to what's happening with the Championship. No one said a word. League One and League Two were trying to get their house in order. League Two ended up by saying it's done and we'll use a weighted points system. League One was, what's happening with
Well, what I find extraordinary about it is that the Premier League all the way through it, whether you think they've done it the right way or the wrong way, they've clearly stayed ahead of what's the planning, but have kept it all in-house, so have not revealed it to the public, but have always felt like that the clubs and everyone have always been briefed beforehand, and they've always been ready almost for every step of where the lockdown is, and then have been ready to reveal after what the government are saying afterwards, so it's already said. They're not reacting to it, they're being proactive, but keeping it in-house. What I find very strange with the Football League is, now that we've sort of got a plan of action, not only for the country, whether you think it's the right thing or not, and now the Premier League have shown how things should go step by step, is that number one, the Championship are not following that. They are not really back in training yet, and yet they're going to go a week after the Premier League, Was it, yeah, the same weekend, sorry. And yet that's just basically the Championship. There's nothing for the League One and League Two. Has it been wrapped up? Is it finished? I don't know. Tranmere have come out and said that they've put a statement out basically. They're upset saying that they could go down via the points per game system, and yet League Two are considering putting a playoff system in. So they're saying we could go down without playing, and yeah, whoever replaces us will come up by playing. Like, that's not a level playing field. Well, so why haven't the Football League come out today and set out a roadmap for all three divisions, whether they're playing or they're not playing, and being organised and said, this is what's going to happen, top to bottom. We're playing our games as normal. It's going ahead, blah, blah, blah. Playoffs here, blah, blah, blah. League One, this is what we're doing. League Two, this is what we're doing. I find it really disorganised. And I think that's really poor for the teams involved at the top and bottom of the tables.
Yeah, it's absolutely berserk. I understand Sammy's perspective. We said this when I think, was it Norwich or someone had come out there, chief executive had come out and said, well, there's no way we're going to accept relegation if Leeds or West Brom don't have to play to get up. We're not going to go down and they're just getting promoted. Well, obviously, quite clearly now, Leeds and West Brom are going to get that opportunity to get up by their own means. Yeah. But Tranmere getting relegated on a points, per game system, but yet teams replacing them can play and give themselves the chance to get up. Doesn't seem right at all to me. Yeah. Another leg to this, the Championship coming back. Lee Bowyer, the Charlton manager's been speaking about the resumption of it. And he's brought up something else that we spoke about. And he says, we've had 9 players whose contracts finish at the end of June. And unfortunately for us, 3 of them have said they're not going to play. Now, Lyle Taylor is one of the ones who said he won't play. He's their top scorer. He's got 11 goals in the Championship. Lyle has told Bowyer he's not going to play because of risk of injury. Would scupper him moving to another club. His contract expires in June. His contract expires, yeah.
June Which 30th. A lot of players will do in those 2 divisions.
Well, they've got Chris Solly and David Davis. David Davis is on loan from Birmingham. He's gone back to. He said he won't play again because it won't be done in time. I don't know. Chris Solly's a bit different, I think, but that's the way it is. So I mean, we're gonna have this. We have got this in the Premier League as well. We know Bournemouth have got 9 or 10 players out of contract on June 30th. Some players have extended. I know that Agarlo, United have extended his loan till January. A couple of players have signed short-term deals to just an extension to their contract. Newcastle and Tottenham are talking about Danny Rose's loan getting extended for another 4 weeks till this finishes. But the likes of Bournemouth, who we spoke about last week, with Ryan Fraser, who is or has been their best player. We know that he's probably going to move on. Is he going to risk playing for Bournemouth if he's got a deal? So I think...
And they're not going to say anything, probably, publicly, because they're not supposed to have deals. Especially if they're moving to...
So all he'll say is, I don't want to play because I don't want to get injured past that date, in case I stay on or a move on, rather. So this is a real issue for Bournemouth, because I know that they've got a few players who are actually playing in their 13 Cup. Both the defenders, 2 of the centre-backs, I think, are out of contract as well. So we've seen a situation with Mo Bezic, who plays for us, where apparently his agent has asked for more money, or a big pot of money for Bezic to stay the extra 4 weeks. Now, he's in a situation where he's left Sheffield United and won't be returning. He can't come back to Everton because he's contracted to Sheffield United till the end of the season. So essentially, he's just whichever way, he's either in limbo or he's on holiday. So whichever way you want to look at it. But I think that damages Bezic moving forward.
Yeah.
Because I think we talked off air before, and you were like, well, he's not going to stay at Sheffield United now, is he? Because they're not going to, and they were considering signing.
Yeah.
Chris Wilder's come out and said this club isn't made of money asking for, it's just it's a mad thing. And Premier League clubs are one thing, but people like Charlton You know, Bowyer, that young kid, he needs him. He's 11 goals. You know, they're going to be without 3 players. And I get players saying, it's difficult because you can see both sides, can't you? You can see players going, I don't want to risk. So I'm going to play for you for another 4 weeks. I do me knee. You know, we've seen our own, you know, Jean-Philippe Gabin get injured and be out for 9 months the other day. We'll say that happens to you in a game when you've got a week left of your contract, and say you've got a club round the corner going, we really want you, you know, and you're like, well, I'm trying to be loyal to my club.
Especially when...
I mean, what would you do?
Because the other side of it is as well, what these players are seeing is a situation where they're not at their fittest as well, so there's more likelihood they'll get injured. Yeah. And they've got to put all that into... Especially players who are...
Like fringe players?
You know, we're not even fringe players. Players who were probably on 1-2 year contracts. Maybe...
Yeah, who need another.
Aren't going to get massive moves to places. They're going to be. These is like a situation where if they've been told by that club, you're not getting a new deal here, or there's options.
So do you side with the players on that then and think, well they've got to look after themselves, haven't they? I guess.
I think if they haven't been given a contract by the club, then you've got to side with the players, haven't you? If the clubs are happy enough to say in general circumstances, at the end of the season you're done, then the players got to turn around and say, well, if that's the case, there's the kid at Bournemouth's already said he's already said, hasn't he? Now he's had a bit of a fallout with the club, so he's like, I don't owe you anything. Well, what do I owe you? He might have a club already lined up, and he's like, I don't owe you anything. From the 1st of June, I'm gone. I'm out of contract. July, sorry, and that's sadly the way footballers are commodities for clubs. So therefore, they can't have it both ways. So Gary Warder said, like baseball over here, the minor leagues are left hanging until the top tier figures out what it's doing. And he also said any injury could scuttle a potential move. The problem is, what I would say though with the Football League is, I think the Premier League have shown a way. I think the Premier League have said, you know, we started at this date, the season's going to start at this date. That gives us a month of training where we build it up over the weeks. We're following the guidance. We're in full contact now. So for the next 3 weeks for most clubs, they'll have 3 weeks of full contact training. And I think what I find disheartening about the Football League is they're like saying, well, we want to be like them, but they're not being. They should have that extra week, and then the League One and League Two, they're not. That's weird.
One of the things the Football League have said is the playoff. They want the playoffs done for July the 30th. So that kind of falls in line with the last, because the Premier League finishes on the 30th, doesn't it, allegedly? So they want that done because obviously then you've got a situation with promoted and relegated teams coming up. You've got contracts, then players will.
Do you think that what the Football League is sort of trying to do is keep that alliance with the Premier League sweet rather than look after their own clubs? Because I think in a way they're almost like Leeds are obviously a big club and they're going up. I think they're sort of trying to keep that idea of, well, the playoff game and these teams going up, it's the biggest game in the world, and that's all we're asked about is other people going, all eyes on us for that playoff game or whatever, rather than
that's gonna be mad, isn't it? The biggest game in the world, but in an empty stadium.
Yeah. But instead of looking after the teams all the way through it, I just feel like they're trying to keep that link relevant. Do you know what I mean? Like just trying to keep hold of the coattails. We're starting the same week as the Premier League because our teams go up to the Premier League. That makes us relevant.
Ironically, they start the week before normally, don't they? Yeah. Because of the amount of games. So it's interesting that they haven't been maybe further along in this, and that they just tried to cobble it together and go, we're kicking off in 3 weeks. You've got Mark Warburton, who you were saying before, said, I need another week with these players and give me all the subs you want. That's one of the things match day squads have been increased to 20 rather than 18 players. You can make 5 substitutions, albeit at 3 different times, like what we've said anyway. So it does feel a little bit cobbled together. And the players, some teams will lose players as a result of it. Lee Bowyer's won already, said 3 out. So
Isn't it funny? I was just looking at some of the news headlines, but isn't it funny that, like, you know, we were talking about like the situation that was going on in France. There's like they just went, it's done, and there's like all these legal challenges and all that. I don't know whether they're going on in the background, but they're just coming back next season, and there's none of all this other stuff to. And I know it's a completely different situation, but you can understand the situation. You can understand where people are just like, we don't have to put up with any of this.
What I find though really interesting about France is you'd have to have admiration for France on two levels. One, the government, because the government just goes, this is happening, and people have followed it. When they've done it, they've cut it with sport. And also the French people, when bread goes up by like 5 cents, they riot. You know, they don't have any shit. Like, they don't take any.
No.
But they've made a decision. But what I find really interesting is Serie A. Well, like, when this pandemic was bad in Bergamo, they were like, no footy till September, it's done. Spain, we're done. We're not playing again. This was 5 weeks ago. Spain started the week before us. Yeah. Spain are back on the 13th.
Yeah. Spain have announced they'll start.
Serie A the 20th.
Yeah.
2 countries that said there would be no football. So why have they changed their mind?
Do you think it just comes down to...
Is it money? Is it Champions League?
I look at Germany and I look at them and I think to myself, they're coming back. They've said money. But I also think they've got the relevant conditions. They're a very organised country. We know that. It's practically...
Germany?
Yeah. It's practically joked about. They're a very organised society.
Yeah, incredible, yeah.
The grounds are in places where fans, apart from, I'm sure there's some, but there's fans can't get to. But I also feel like the fans are the kind of people who won't go there anyway. They've got the perfect conditions. They got to the situation where they had everything under control. So they were like, well, we can finish the season. There's nothing to worry about. I think France are like almost at the other end of the scale, where they were like, there's no point starting. Financially, there's nothing to gain. We've got a lot of sort of, not little clubs in France, but there's only some like mega clubs. You've got Paris Saint-Germain who can look after themselves. Marseille and Lyon are sort of in that just underneath them that can get through.
Well, saying that, Marseille having to sell players to survive. So.
But I think they've always had to sell players to survive. I think that's what I'm saying. They're sort of
Monaco.
Monaco are a Nottingham club really. They just got money in terms of where they are.
Yeah.
And everyone else is just they just went, you know what? It's best for everyone if we just shut up shop. And the people who lived there just went. I imagine so. Just thought it's the best idea. Holland were the same. Belgium were the same.
What do you think should have happened here? You know, take
perfect world.
Take money off it. Take the money side away from Everton, because we look at it from a blue perspective. But take the money out of it. Do you just think we should have just said that it's done till September?
Yeah, I do. In a perfect world. Yeah. We don't live in a perfect world. Don't think we live in a perfect world. And I think Spain and Italy have got exactly the same problem we have. Is that they rely on football and sport so much for their economy and to keep gambling companies sweet and all the rest of it.
Sponsors
that they had to bring it back. And there's also very powerful clubs in like in England, there's very powerful clubs in Spain, and there's very powerful clubs in Italy.
That are still in Champions League, by the way.
Exactly.
It's getting played.
Exactly. But could almost help sway national consciences on different things if they choose to. And I think the problem is that if you've got, without being political, a weakness at government level, let's be honest, when this lockdown came in, the government were like, oh, it's fine, go to all the sporting events you want to, no issues. And then Arteta happened, and then Premier League had to make a decision. And then the government were like, Premier League have made the decision, that's sound, we can make the decision now. And I think it's the same like Italy and Spain. It's the clubs are so powerful. And I think by them saying, we need this to happen, that the governments have been like,
jumped on bed with them.
They've been like, well, listen, if they want it to happen, that's fine. I don't think in Belgium, France, and Holland, and Scotland as well, there was any appetite to return. Don't forget, and I heard this over the weekend. I thought in a way it was something like, I think, was it about the women's game? I think it might have been about the women's game. And I thought it was how powerful of the women's game. And what she said is, if we continue this season, all our budgets will be taken up by the tests. Right. She said, we'll be paying budgets out for all these tests, for all these hoops that we've got to jump through to get the season on. Done, yeah. That we'll be getting rid of all our budgets for next season. She said, and I hadn't actually even thought about it like that. She said, we'll be paying out for nothing to just finish the season off. And she said, it's better to just finish it off, come back next season, and then we'll have our budget for next season without having to worry about this situation, hopefully. So,
they still have to have tests, won't they? They will, won't they?
I don't know, but what she was saying was, if you finish this season, you haven't got a next season. And I wonder how many countries would have looked at that. And maybe that's what France have looked at and gone, there's loads like little clubs in France, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And they might have looked,
you've done fantastic this season, but they're only a little club.
And they might have looked at it and gone, is there any real point? And we're not in that position in this country, Italy, and don't, like, you know. So we are where we are, and it's just that, as I said, in the Football League, it doesn't seem to have gone down.
Obviously, the Premier League had 1,000 odd tests at the weekend, no positive tests. That's good news for them, continuing to, especially coming after contact training, so they'll be delighted with that. But obviously, you've just mentioned the Bundesliga there. I mean, what have you made of that? Like the fourth game back, wasn't it, for a lot? Third, fourth game back for most teams. So, what have you made of that? Of what you've seen of it so far?
The best clubs are the best clubs, and they're showing that even more so. Dortmund and Bayern were ridiculous over the weekend, and that's, to me, is the only worry, is that the best clubs in these circumstances, which are perfect circumstances for them, perfect circumstances, nice big pitches, loads of the sun shining, no worries, opposition haven't got the crowd to back them. They're basically chasing the ball around, getting knackered, and then Bayern and Dortmund are taking over. And that's essentially the worry for the Premier League. I said it on another video. There's this thing as well of like, our teams are not waking up to the fact in games. I watched Schalke and I watched Schalke on Saturday versus Werder Bremen. Schalke have obviously lost their first 3 games coming back. Bremen I've watched Bremen other games, they look quite awful, but Werder Bremen took the lead.
Done all right, though.
Yeah. Werder Bremen took the lead. And
hell of a goal, by the way.
Oh, it was a great goal, great goal. But at no point after that did I see Schalke really. I think they had one header that flashed wide, but apart from that, I didn't see anything from them.
Had a volley just over, that was it, and then he went off, that was it.
What I took from that is Schalke are a team that had come back from the lockdown around the 8th, I think. Yeah. I think that
they were on for Europe, and
they're now like 10th. Yeah. So, but there's been no on switch for them. And that's the worry as well, is that I'm Werder Bremen at the bottom end table, and they've won a couple of games and they're trying to get themselves out of it. They're fighting and scrapping, but it's those teams, and it's like there's no on switch, and during games there's no on switch, and that's the thing that I do worry about, is that for some teams it could almost see. I mean, listen, the Premier League's different, the points and positions and money and all that, but it's that thing of during the game, can you, without the crowd, can you get yourself switched back on to go and win the games? We've also seen the home advantage literally is out the window now.
I think it's been 7. I think there's been 7 home wins, I think, in all the games.
It's about 13%, isn't it?
Yeah,
something like that.
Ridiculous. I mean, I think the quality of most of the games has been decent in terms of teams having a go at each other. That Schalke Bremen game it did look like a Premier League game. It was poor quality. But you're right, I think Schalke, to me, just looked totally disorganised. Wagner, they had no one up front. No strikers at all. They're absolutely dreadful up the top end of the pitch. But the players just seem to be playing wherever they want, and that's weird to me.
But Do you think, right, if there was a crowd there and you, say Schalke were playing at home and you had 60,000 there and it's a cut and thrust game because, which a lot of the Premier League games are, right?
Yeah.
I worry that, not worry as such, but I just think that when it comes back, I wonder how many people will look at that and be like, these games are actually rubbish. Because the presentation of the games, with whoever it's on, and the crowd and how they bring the game, and the players getting into it and all the rest of it, because of it sometimes takes away from what's actually happening on the pitch. Like, how many games you sit there and go, the ball's just going from one team to another without that quality, but the fans are egging them on because it's a big game, because it's coming towards the end of the season, whatever. And that was the thing with that game. It was like, I'm sitting there going, this game, like, Schalke have had no chances, but it's very obvious to me that they've had no chances. But sometimes you can watch a game and be like, you know it's terrible, but it's almost like the implications of the game are like, well, I'm sticking with this because if they score...
What you've got to remember is when you're watching a game, normally there's a distraction in it from other things. So you're right, you can be a team that isn't really creating any good chances, but the crowd, like the crowd are like a metronome, and you're switching it up and you're hacking it, teams are hacking it clear because the crowd are behind them. It's things like you hit a 50-50 tackle and the crowd are pumped and you do, now when you hit it, it's just quiet and people go, hey. I mean, there was a little bit of a, well that's it, there was a little bit of argy-bargy the other day in one of the games, and it was all very... It was
but
weird.
it's not as theatrical, because there isn't like the hold me back because I'm not playing up to the crowd.
So in some respects, the quality... Alan Meyer said this last week on one of the things, and I think a couple of people misunderstood what he was saying. He was like, the crowd make the game better. But then about 5 minutes later, he said, I think the games will be better. And someone was
I don't understand what he
typical, doesn't know what he's saying. It wasn't that at all. He was saying from a technical perspective, because there's no outside pressures, the game might actually be better. But what I find is, and I've said this about the Premier League lots of times, and people don't like it, don't like to hear it, the Premier League is crap. It's presented and sold as the greatest thing ever. But the reality of it, technically wise, it's not great at all. There's some good teams in it, don't get me wrong, but when you watch a lot of games, I watch top games with top teams and it's billed as this is going to be a cracker. And when you watch it, it's awful. It's awful as a spectacle. And someone might pull a goal out of the fire and the crowd, and you win the game and it's like, great result. But when you actually watch the game, and what you're saying is there's nowhere to hide now. Yeah. There's nothing to hide behind. There's no crowd that might distract your eye from it or whatever. It's just there. It's a Sunday league game of footy almost. It's a game behind closed doors. It's a training match where... So this is what we've both watched The Last Dance, and Jordan said about those practices, the greatest basketball games you'll ever see. That's what we're saying about technically wise. You might see some great stuff, but without the pressures of the crowd and the way it's packaged, it won't feel the same. And this is why, again, I guess the way they present it, the stadiums and how the television presents it will make it better, because if it does end up with empty seats and cross it and all of that, people will very easily go, this isn't actually very good, I've got something else to do, and walk away from it. And that, I guess, from a Premier League perspective and a TV company perspective and a club perspective, that's the worst thing about it, hence why they have to get that right. But what I've seen is good technical play. I've seen Dortmund, you're right, Dortmund and Bayern Munich better than, and Leipzig haven't been great at home, but away, I think they won 60 the other week. They've been really good because they're a good side. Werner's fantastic. So the good sides are really being able to press home their advantage. Mönchengladbach, at times have been brilliant. They won 4-1, didn't they, yesterday against Union Berlin with Marcus Thuram through the middle. So there's some good football. But I think the key thing is, will teams, and I think this is what Premier League teams need to do, is to watch these Bundesliga games and get hold of their teams and say, listen, if we do go 3-0 down, don't just give it up and go, it doesn't matter, and end up getting beat 7, because that could damage us. It's about keep your shape, do the things properly, because I think you mentioned on another video, watching Bayern Munich last Saturday night, they were cruising 3-0. Oh, it was flicked back heel. Alphonso Davies, by the way, what a player. And the next minute, bang, bang, 3-2.
This is last week, by
Last
the
week,
way.
not the weekend. I know they won 5-0 at the weekend, the week before. And the next minute, it's 3-2. And they're back in it. I think was it Frankfurt or whoever. They were back in it from nowhere. And we watched Dusseldorf for 2-0 up the other night, cruising. Next minute, 91st minute, bang, 92nd minute, bang. And it was full Everton Newcastle mode. So clubs will have to be on the guard that because there isn't a crowd.
And you seen that yesterday in the Paderborn Dortmund game. Paderborn get a penalty and score it, and Dortmund just went down the other end and scored. Make it 3-1. And
if that would have gone 2-1 with a tight ground, a tight crowd, it might have been.
It could have been a little bit different, but again, it's.
Do you think before we finish, do you think it'll adversely affect, say, the likes of Norwich and Aston Villa, who would be relying on?
It depends though,
games?
because if they're playing, see, I look at like Norwich playing. I'm just going to say us.
Well, that's their first home game back.
And I'm like, if we go down there and it's like, I don't know, I don't like to say us, but I've watched enough Everton teams to know that we can throw the towel in with the best of them.
But conversely, though, we could go there and because there's no crowd.
We could
go, well, we're better than these. Bang, 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 4-0.
We could, Everton. But then that's the thing, isn't it? It's like watching someone like Werder Bremen. They've gone up against teams like Schalke at the weekend. We've gone, these are not at it. Yeah, if we can get into them, we can press them, and we can get a goal up, we'll beat these. And it's whether those teams at the bottom can do that, whether they can go, we can benefit from this. If we can just get out there and if these drop low below what they're normally at, and we can be at our level, then we can beat them. So
it's going to be interesting for character, isn't it, from all of them clubs, and you'll see. I guess you'll see. I guess that's what the attraction will be, is how teams cope with it. Yeah. Whereas you've got more of a vested interest in it. Whereas I mean, I watch German football anyway, so it's interesting to me. But for the Premier League aspect of it and the Football League behind closed doors will be mad as well, because Leeds' big strength is at home at Ellen Road with the crowd. Well, we know that they fell on the sword last year being ahead, and there's by no means they're guaranteed. Both them and West Brom, they were good at home. There's no crowd there no more.
Listen, it's new. It's going to be interesting, and we won't know how we deal with it till it comes. So there you go. This has been today's Footy Show Daily. Leave your thoughts in the comments about anything we spoke about. If you want to watch this show live, join us over on Patreon. The link is in the description. We'll be back tomorrow. See you then.